And I'm Ahmaad.
And we're the Hoods. Ah, good job, Mom. You did good.
Yeah, I wouldn't put myself in that.
Yeah, no poking of yourself
When
in
you
the eye this time.
when you started talking about hair, it was like, get ready,
Welcome to Hood Tales, where we take you through the ups, downs, and merry-go-rounds of millennial marriage.
Round and round and round.
Round and round and round.
Guys want to turn around.
Hello. Today we're talking about vulnerability, and it's hard. Vulnerability is probably one of the hardest things that I've ever tried to do.
Ooh.
Ever.
No, you don't try to do it, you do it.
Yes, but you also have to try. Vulnerability is something you have to try at. That's not a just you do it type of thing. In most cases.
Touche.
In most cases.
I get that.
Exactly. Okay.
Good.
So, we're going to go to the text. Vulnerability is the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. That just sound hard.
You do.
Brene Brown has a quote which I absolutely love and I adore her. She says that vulnerability is the birthplace of creativity, innovation, and change. And she ain't never lied. And that is why it's hard. That is why it's hard. So, what does vulnerability look like to you?
For me, vulnerability is being emotionally vulnerable.
What does that look like?
So telling you how I feel and knowing that you're not going to use how I feel as ammunition.
Okay.
You know,
so a safe space for all of your quote, non-quote, non-manly emotions.
Yeah.
Okay.
All my feelings.
All of your feelings.
Feelings. So deep in my feelings. All that.
All right. Vulnerability. Ooh. Vulnerability to me looks like why are you still staring at me like that? No, vulnerability to me looks like everything that you said, but as well as to me it's like the breaking ground of it all, like how Brene Brown calls it, like the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. Like when someone is completely vulnerable with you, meaning that they are willing to be naked with you, and I don't mean just physically, although physically being naked with someone is a part of vulnerability. That is vulnerable.
Very much so.
But truly being naked with someone, like, and also this is also important in every relationship, whether it's romantic or not. So I'm gonna keep that in mind. But truly allowing someone to see every bit of me, like to see what I see when I look in the mirror, to know what I think, like when I'm up late at night, like that to me is true vulnerability. I think the best way to create or to get vulnerability in a relationship is to create a safe space for it. How did you create a safe space for me to be vulnerable with you?
Honestly, in a few ways. So I know that when you gave me or told me, you know, how you felt about something, or something that, you know, may have happened in your life or anything, I nurtured those feelings and those in that moment to where you felt like, hey, I can be vulnerable. I showed you that, you know, I'm trustworthy. You know, you're able to trust me with your feelings and with your deep things, you know. So like that's definitely how I feel like I helped to create a safe space. And also just being vulnerable with you in turn shows, you know, you that I can continue.
It definitely does, yeah,
to be vulnerable.
Yeah, it shows that if one partner is comfortable enough to share and be vulnerable with you, that the space is safe enough, that somebody already feels like that space is already safe enough to share those types of things. I think that I created a safe space for you by doing exactly what you said, but I also am a question asker.
What? She ain't gonna do nothing else. She gonna ask you a question.
I am a question asker.
Inquisitive. It's a picture.
I am extremely inquisitive.
Hers.
And I ask very deep questions. But that's also how I feel like I feel connected to people. Is knowing traumatic things that happen, like, you know, and like hearing how people have overcome certain stuff. So for me, I am a question asker, so I prodded a lot. I know you did. I prodded a lot. Like when I want to know someone, I want to know all of you. And that includes places that you might not have wanted to touch yourself. And these are things that I wouldn't even know if I didn't ask the question, you know? Yeah, I definitely asked a lot of questions. Questions about your family, questions about your friendships, questions about your fears. And the very same way in which we're like sitting here conversationally now, and like I'm sharing, is the same way I would do in conversation with you. Yeah. I wouldn't just ask questions and not give an answer, or because I've asked the question, I would therefore give my answer first to the question I'm asking, so that way it doesn't feel like a one-sided interview, but like let's have a conversation about the things that scare you, about the things you want to do with your life, stuff that you've been through, you know, all that type of stuff. Yeah, I am that person. For sure.
Also, to throw in there, if you have a partner who is inquisitive, don't learn to love that about them, because not only will that you'll learn to be okay with it, because if you're truly creating a safe space in your relationship, the questions will still be hard, but you'll know that you have an arena to where those feelings can be let out. And you know, them being inquisitive will help you learn so much, because I've learned so much just because she's inquisitive.
Yeah, I like that. I think too, vulnerability can be hard to realize that that's what you're asking for.
That's true. Very true.
For a perfect example of that would probably be Melissa and Kev. In the Love Hour podcast, Melissa and Kevin Fredericks talk a lot about how at the beginning of their marriage, they've been married for like
15
almost 20 years, something like that.
Yeah. 17,
something like that. But they've been married for a very long time, and at the time when they first got married, there was no like language of like, you know, vulnerability and like these are things that you're looking for. So for them, it felt like we don't talk enough, and that could be what a lack of vulnerability feels like. It could, because marriage is very mundane. Like it's a very boring lifestyle in the sense of the same things are happening every day, right?
Each and every day.
Like don't get me wrong, we ain't bored over here, but it is a very boring practical thing. Like there's a very it's very mundane, like, you know, you get up, you go to work, you come home, you have dinner, you work out. The conversations therefore become very mundane, because if there's not anything going on outside of the mundanity of life, it's how was your day at work? what do you want for dinner this week? What do you want for lunch next week? Like, what's your work schedule like? When are we recording? Like, it's a whole, there's no like extreme excitement in there.
No spontaneity.
No, not usually, right? And that's really just the same even with life in general, because even when we were dating and we were living in 2 different cities, I think that's where a big part of our vulnerability came in, was because we didn't have anything else to do but talk. We only seeing each other 2 times a week.
Right.
So the only time sometimes once. And so the only way we could feel connected throughout the week was by talking. And those conversations have to be deeper than, how was your day at work?
Yeah.
And so it's now second nature, because we did it for so long, to have those conversations. But what I would say is that if you're struggling with vulnerability in your relationship, if you feel like it's something that your relationship is lacking or that you want more of, make sure that you're creating a safe space. And also ask the question. Like, if you want to be sure, you closed mouths don't get fed, okay?
Very true.
And you have not because your ass not.
Amen.
So therefore, if you just ask somebody, hey, am I creating a space enough to where you feel like you can tell me, you know, what makes you sad, what makes you angry, your biggest fears, all of that, it'll help. Oh, I was about to say, that's what I almost just forgot. One of the biggest things with vulnerability is to make sure that once people share something with you, that is therefore not shot back up into their faces. And I know that women tend to do this a lot. That, like, you know, they say it all the time. We've all seen them funny memes on Twitter where, like, they get to arguing and now she calling him a booty muncher. Like, but like, even that is vulnerability, because girl. Or
she be rubbing the belly. Oh, I love this belly so much. But then when they get into an argument, she be like, shut up, you little fat boy.
I've never done that, by the way. So,
no, okay.
First of all, I said do not do that, because I have never done that. But yet and still, like, you know, when you create it in the moment and then use it as ammunition afterwards, that's not creating a true safe space. Okay? So, yeah, just make sure that we're being truly transparent and intentional with the things that people tell us in moments of vulnerability. Do you have anything else to add?
No.
You don't?
No.
Do you have a hood highlight?
My hood highlight is, when it comes to being vulnerable, vulnerability stems from being trustworthy. I'm not going to be vulnerable with you if I don't feel like you're trustworthy. So if your partner isn't being vulnerable with you, take a look at their trust of you and move forward from there.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Sorry, do you have a hood highlight?
I think that vulnerability is just a muscle that has to be practiced, and it's hard. It's extremely hard to do, and it's hard to do over and over again, right? Because as life goes on and doesn't stop happening, that things you fear, things you want to have accomplished, they don't stop changing either. And the further we go along in life, the scarier those things can become. So yeah, I would just say to make sure that you're creating a safe space for your partner to be vulnerable, like in every area, whether that be sexual desires, their fears, like I said, their goals, yeah, all of that is vulnerability. Even the confronting of something that brings them dissatisfaction, right? So like, nobody's gonna wanna, he's not gonna wanna bring me a problem if I immediately blow up at everything, like, you know. So all of that is a part of vulnerability as well.
That's good.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you kindly.
Bye.